Hello, welcome to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. We are very excited. We have Stephen Watson from Bally Sports with us. We're going to ask him a handful of personal and some Brewers questions, and then we're going to use it to translation into our Milwaukee Bucks primer. Milwaukee Bucks basketball starts tomorrow, so we are very excited for that. Got a lot of fun stuff to talk about with the Bucks today. Jake and I have some bold predictions, some record predictions, some Eastern Conference threat levels. So a lot of stuff going on. So, Stephen, welcome to the show. Glad we could work out a day to get you on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, thinking of me. Honestly, I'm flattered. I've been a big fan of you guys from afar. I enjoy your work, so happy to be on here.
Thank you.
Working on our Bally Sports collection. We've got Tim Dillard and Vinny Rotino. We got to get now we got you on. We got to get Steve Novak and some of the Bucks
Valley. We've got Craig Kashan on.
Yeah, there you
Craig's been on here.
Well, you've gotten all the important people out of the way, so I can live up to
well, now that you're here, yes.
Yes. That's good. All righty, Jake. Jake has our first question of the day. Go ahead.
This one had to be in here, dude. This is honestly, I want you to take this as a compliment. This is the first thing that everybody should notice about Stephen Watson is your fashion sense, dude. And we have to know. You're always looking dapper, right?
Yeah.
Is it you? Do you dress yourself or do you have somebody in your ear?
No, I do it all myself. I have a lot of fun with it because honestly, we should have fun. Like I tell people when they ask what I do for a living, I play in the playpen. So, you have fun. I like dressing up. I get it from my grandfather, I think, who is a really loud dresser. I try not to be too Craig Sager-y with some of my sport coat choices, but fashion is what you make it. So I like to have fun with it. And my wife thinks some of the looks are a little crazy, but I enjoy it. I try to have fun with it. Why not? Right?
Yeah, I agree.
That's awesome. So when we have guests on, we like to ask, because we think it's important, and the way that we've taken our approach with doing our show is doing it from a more optimistic and positive perspective. So we like to ask the question, with athletes and just with people in general, how do you take care of your mental health?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's an important question right now, something that's come to the surface for a lot of us in our day-to-day life, but we're starting to see some of the athletes that we grew up rooting for, currently rooting for, really make this a priority. Giannis, somebody here in the city of Milwaukee, has spoken openly about it within the last year. And I think the more people that are starting to have this conversation, more people realize that it's okay to talk about. And it used to be viewed as something that was a sign of weakness, but if anything, it's a sign of strength. We're all vulnerable. We all are critical of ourselves. We care what other people think of us, even though some people say they don't. We all care. You're not human unless you care. So for me, I think my ability, and it's something I'm still working on and frankly not good enough at, is escaping. I get so bogged into my day-to-day. I love what I do for a living. I've always wanted to be a sports broadcaster. I never thought it would take me back to Wisconsin. I'm a proud Badger, so I never thought that I would find my way back here again to do this for a career. But this is going to be my 10th season covering the Bucks. And
Sweet.
It's a pretty crazy sentence to say out loud to a kid who grew up in Philadelphia and hasn't lived in Philadelphia since I graduated high school. But I've spent most of my adult life here in Wisconsin, and I'm really proud of it. I love living here. But sometimes I get trapped by my love for what I do for a living, and it kind of compounds. And it's important for me, for my mental health, to find ways to step away and spend time with my wife, my now 17-month-old daughter, and I have a 4-legged son, Wilson, a golden retriever that keeps me on my toes as well. And if anybody follows my day-to-day on Twitter and social media, I'm obsessed with golf. So golf is my other escape as a way to take care of myself a little bit and enjoy the time out on the course or with my family.
Yeah. So a little sneak peek. We actually know somebody that you know, and we know that you love golf.
All right.
Cody Retlick, does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
We all, me, myself, Tyler, and Cody, we all graduated the same year from Kiel High School.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we were actually, at my dad's golf outing for our weekend in our hometown, Kiel, Wisconsin. Shout out Raiders.
Yeah.
And yeah, we ran into Cody and we were talking about you, trying to get you on the show. And he just started talking. He was like, "You got to talk about golf." I'm like, "Dude, I don't know anything about golf. I golf once a year and I'm horrible at it."
Well, this is the best state to golf in the country. So you got to find a way. It's never too late to start playing golf. That is one thing. My dad didn't start playing until he was 30. My mom didn't start playing until she was 50. Now they're both addicted to the game. That's one of the reasons I fell in love with the game, is because I play with them all the time. But it's never too late to pick up a club, and it's the best sport. It's something that tests you mentally.
Yep.
It can test you physically if you are a marathon golfer like myself, and do it as part of a workout as well. But it's the greatest game out there because it humbles you very quickly.
Well, I was going to say the thing about golf is the thing that I enjoy is it makes you think, right? Like it's, we're gonna get back to the program here, but like golf, man, like it makes you think. Like that's the thing that I appreciate about it is like, okay, I'm this many yards out. I got to use this club. Got to watch out for this. Like there's all these obstacles in your way. It's an incredible game. It really is. And I would like to get into it, but I have 2 kids myself. This is the girl dad crew now. That's what I'm calling us. So
you got 2 girls?
I have 2 girls.
I have one girl, and then I have he's my stepson. I say he's my son, but I have a son. He keeps me in sports like crazy. Like I coach him in football, basketball. He wants to play soccer now. I'm like, I don't know anything about soccer, but I guess I'm gonna learn, right?
Yeah. Oh, those are memories you'll always remember. I'm excited for my little one to get to that age where I can start coaching her. Maybe
you start putting like a golf ball in her crib and stuff.
Oh yeah, we've been pushing it. We've been pushing it.
I gotta be
little
careful now,
golf set.
Yeah.
I got to be careful now, though, because, I'll yell at the TV, when Giannis dunks, and I'll scream with Giannis, and my daughter gets up now. She's 2.5, and she'll be like, ah, and she screams with me. So it's just me, my daughter, and Giannis. We're all screaming, and it feels like we're one big happy family.
There you go. That's the right way to raise them. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So we're going to get to a Brewers question now. So what Brewers minor league player are you most excited to see in Milwaukee next year?
If your answer isn't Jackson Churio, you're lying to yourselves.
Yeah.
And I have no inside information, anything about him being a Brewer as soon as this upcoming season. But I know there were talks at some point last year, potentially where they were at in the season, bringing Jackson up at the end of this past year. So I think that if things are going on the trajectory that they're on, and the fact that he spent the final couple of weeks in AAA Nashville, I think we will see Jackson in a Brewers uniform at some point this upcoming season. And I mean, we're talking about somebody who has the hype of a Bryce Harper right now. We're talking about a teenager who has worked his way up the ranks and probably the most exciting prospect the Brewers have ever had. And where he fits into the picture of the outfield, a lot could happen this offseason. There could be a lot of changes. We'll wait and see. But I think just the excitement to have that type of prospect in the organization, and the thought of him being in Milwaukee, even if it's a short stint at any point in the season next year, has to be what I'm most anticipating for next season.
I'm a big Tyler Black guy, so I have him on my list as well. I'm hoping he makes the opening day roster.
He could be their starting third baseman. I mean, we don't know where they're going to go with Josh Donaldson. I don't think they'll end up bringing him back. Again, this is all personal opinion. But Monasterio earned the right to play in the infield. We don't know what the infield is going to look like at the beginning of next season. There's so many questions with arbitration and what their potentially trade market might be, what's going to happen with Craig Counsell. I think that certainly is going to play a factor into the decision-making as well for this organization. So I think Tyler Black's another guy who I know they're very high on, and another guy who was very close to finding his way up this past season. Guy who can play first and third, which are going to be 2 positions of need for next season.
For me, when Matt Arnold brought up Tyler Black in his end of the season press conference, and he brought up Tyler Black's name without being asked about it, I was like, nobody asked him about Tyler Black, and he brought him up by name, unprompted.
And I think that's an important thing for Brewers fans to realize, like how good the farm system has been consistently for them for quite some time. I know a lot of people get emotional over the bites of the apple phrase that David Stearns once used to talk about this organization, and some of the trades that they made. The Josh Hader one, of course, is the most notable, but they're quietly building one of the most consistent farm systems in all of baseball. And we're starting to see the results of that. I think this past season was a great example of the freshmen coming in and proving that they're ready for the moment. I think we've got another wave of 3 to 5 guys who could be big league ready by opening day. So it's an exciting time for the Brewers.
That's insane.
So we're just curious on the whole of the season. What was your favorite game to cover?
Oh man. I think you get to some of those September games. I was fortunate to be hosting for the Mark Canha Grand Slam game.
Oh, nice.
At American Family Field. That was probably the moment where I think for a lot of the people inside the stadium and a lot of us who are around the team regularly, that was the moment where like, yeah, this team has it. And this team could really do some damage. I know it didn't go to plan. Sometimes it doesn't in the postseason, but that was where I felt like the Brewers had their peak swagger and belief that they had something special with this group. And injuries ended up playing a big factor in why they couldn't get past Arizona. Losing Brandon Woodruff cannot be overstated of significance for that club on the field and off the field for the Brewers. But I would say the Mark Canha Grand Slam was one of those chills you got inside the ballpark when you saw that ball go for a guy that took a little while to settle in as a Brewer, but ended up being one of the most dominant and important players down the stretch for the team. And I hope he's back in a Brewers uniform next year. I think he proved that he has what it takes at his age.
100%.
Yeah, we were both big fans of that.
Yeah.
So obviously, we know what happened, right? They lost 2 games at home, and they were a 92-win team in the regular season. So what do you say to fans? What do you think fans can do to avoid attaching a label of catastrophic failure of the 2-game playoff loss after a 92-win season?
Well, I would start by not categorizing it as a catastrophic failure. I just think it's important to realize they play 162 games. The Brewers won the NL Central by 9 games. That was their largest margin of victory over a division in team history. And you talk about what they did getting into August and September. They never held a lead over 3 games in the division. So what they did in August and September was incredible and took us on a really fun ride. And I think we get so stuck on like, if you're not first, you're last mentality in sports. That especially in baseball, I know a lot of fans don't like to hear the argument of small market versus big market, but when you have a manager like Craig Counsell, who had to deal with almost 60 players on his roster and manage them, and Matt Arnold with a very limited payroll, and Mark Attanasio, who, that's just how TV contracts work in a market like Milwaukee. Baseball sets small markets up to fail. And it's a broken system right now. And I would love to see them eventually get to a salary cap, but we are so far away from that, unfortunately, in baseball. The fact that the Brewers are behind only the Braves and the Dodgers in wins in the National League since 2017 says all you need to know about enjoy this era of Brewers baseball and recognize that the teams that have obviously beaten the Brewers, it's been well documented, have gone on to the World Series. But teams like the Philadelphia Phillies last year, who got to the World Series as a 6th seed in the National League, the Arizona Diamondbacks, a 6th seed in the National League, are now in the World Series again. Sometimes if you love the game of baseball, sometimes things just happen and it's hard to describe in the sport. Brandon Woodruff's freak shoulder injury happening in the final week of the season, it was very unfortunate. And those are the types of things that you get frustrated about. But when you can allow yourself to take like the wide angle view of the season and realize that the Milwaukee Brewers, as the smallest market in baseball, have consistently put themselves in the playoff picture every single year, like, you got to enjoy that.
Yeah.
Look at what the Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, Padres, all of them did this year with 3 times the payroll.
Yeah.
You just got to get in. And when you get in, you got to get hot. And the fact that they have been able to take us on so many great rides over the last 6 years, man, you got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy it.
On the subject of, you can't predict what baseball can do. We have taken to, have you seen the alien guy from the History Channel where he's like aliens? We started going like baseball. That's what we started doing.
Baseball.
If something outlierish and random can happen, it's going to happen in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, the perfect example is the fact that the Brewers have lost to the team that has gone to the World Series. Like that's a crazy. Only in baseball can something like that happen.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with the Brewers, and it's one of those you just throw your hands in the air and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
So they'll have their shot as long as, I mean, that's why I talk about the farm system. They're staying competitive. You have to give this organization credit. They have never tanked, and there are plenty of organizations who tank. And
Pirates.
Yeah. And until you, like, they're filling the stadium, they're giving you hope every year. Like, that's what being a sports fan is all about, is living that marathon and living that wave and riding it. And that's what the players like doing as well. And when fans are there supporting the players, the number of players who tell me that they have played for the Yankees or the Mets or the Padres and would rather be in Milwaukee, like, the fans are the difference. And the fans having that passion and energy, like that really matters more probably in baseball than almost any other sport. So if you're a Brewers fan and you're upset about that, just know that they care just as much as you do, and that they're a special breed in Milwaukee. So keep cheering them on, because it's worth it. And they're giving you a good ride right now.
And that's like another thing too. People keep acting like the window is closing, and it's like, you realize how many rookies played last year? I think there was 8 rookies on the 26-man playoff roster.
Yeah. I mean,
and Garrett Mitchell wasn't even on it.
And the controllables that they have. I mean, they have obviously Yelich locked up long-term. Yep. He's proven that he can get back to a pretty solid form. William Contreras could be an MVP in the National League one day, the way that he has been, the rise that he is on. I mean, they figure out first and third base. You have Bryce Terang as a staple in the infield. They bring back Adames. All of a sudden, you're like, wow, wait. You got Garrett Mitchell back. You got another year of development for Sal and Weimer. You got Freddie Peralta. Well, like, they're still contending.
They're still going to be 90 wins.
And then you get to the Jackson trio: Tyler Black, Robert Gossard, Jacob Mizorowski. Like, there's tons of reinforcement coming for anybody you think they're going to lose.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we've learned to put trust in Matt Arnold at this point too. He's proven us time and time again that he's been making the right moves. And I think they'll end up signing their key veterans that will play a difference, probably in the rotation, with Woody being out for the year, and, a couple of key bats in the order. And all of a sudden they're going to be a gritty Brewers team like we've seen over the last 6+ years.
Yep.
And we talked about this actually a couple of weeks ago when the Bucks traded for Damian Lillard, is that Wisconsin sports teams in general, we have good GMs that, I mean, we really got to appreciate across the pro teams, and then throwing in Chris McIntosh as the athletic director for the Badgers too. I mean, we have some pretty good showrunners in Wisconsin.
John Morris already
transition.
Of the year.
I mean, add Marquette in getting Shaka too.
True,
like it's crazy. This is the glory years of Wisconsin sports.
True.
Across the board, honestly, it's really remarkable. I mean, the Packers are having a down year, but what they've been the staple of consistency for 15 years at the quarterback position. Well, 30 if you would include Favre as well. So, I mean, it's a pretty incredible era of Wisconsin sports right now. So
and it's fun because Chicago is on the opposite
trajectory. Yeah, much better, right?
I'm so happy you brought that up.
I couldn't resist. So as far as transitioning from the Bucks to the Brewers, between Bucks and Brewers, who is your favorite player that you have talked to?
I mean, again, it's as easy as the Jackson Churio answer was before. Giannis is a unicorn.
Yep.
And the thing I've been fortunate enough, this being my 10th year covering them, is that I've pretty much been covering Giannis since the beginning. And you heard it yesterday when he spoke to the media about signing his extension, about what loyalty means to him. And he truly is that type of loyal individual to the media that covers him, in addition to the fans that root for him and the organization that believed in him. And that type of relationship is so rare in professional sports. There are a lot of really good guys that we cover, but nobody is Giannis. And to try and compare somebody to Giannis would you just be, you're lying to yourself. He really is that good of a person. He's somebody that I'm going to tell my grandkids someday that I got an opportunity to talk to and have a relationship with and watch him grow up. And I think what he has meant to this city, it's hard to put into words. He did it best. I encourage you all to go back and listen to his full media availability that he had yesterday with the Bucks about why he signed his extension now and why he loves the city of Milwaukee. But loyalty is what it comes down to. And he is that way with the people that have covered him from the beginning. We have a great relationship, and we talk about life off camera as well. That only enhances the time that we get together on camera. And I appreciate that relationship more than he probably even knows as well.
That's awesome.
Man, Giannis, all-time player, but all-time human. So
yeah, I mean, I have a saying on the air. I call him the Bucks MVP, most valuable player, but I say Bucks MVP, most valuable perspective, because when he talks, you listen, and his perspective is just unbelievable. And it humbles you and it keeps you in check, and shows you what hard work is. And he has earned everything that he has gotten in his life, and he has built a life for him and his family and his kids and generations of Antetokounmpos. And we all, as sports fans here in the state, have created memories with our friends, family, kids because of Giannis. And it's really incredible when you sit back and realize what he has meant to this city and the perspective that he continues to offer us daily. Man, we got lucky in Milwaukee. It's incredible. Man. I hope people never take that for granted.
Man, you were talking about the golden years. I'm going to kind of like a comedian does, where they wrap everything together, right? Now I was talking about Girl Dad, right? So we got to see Rodgers back-to-back MVP years on top of the Bucks winning a championship. And, that playoff run was one of the most incredible things that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
The Game 7 versus the Nets was the day my daughter was born. I had to watch Game 7 of the Nets on the tiniest TV you'll ever see in your entire life. And I also had to be quiet because my girlfriend just gave birth to my daughter. So I'm trying to scream into this pillow, and I'm screaming so loud into this pillow that 8 nurses come into the room and start watching this game with me. And it's the fourth quarter, and my girlfriend wakes up. She's all like out of it and stuff. And she's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Go back to bed. We're watching the game. Relax. It's okay." Like I'm checking.
And that's a story you're going to tell. When your hair is gray and you're an old man. That's the beauty of sports, man. It's like you'll always remember where you were in that moment.
Yeah, I will never ever forget Game 7 of the Nets versus the Nets, dude. That was one of the greatest day of my life, honestly. Yeah. We beat the Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irvings and James Hardens of the world, and the Bucks kind of just went to new heights. That was the Giannis statement right there.
Yeah,
but
I about that much.
Yeah,
right. So Giannis obviously sticks out with players, but is there a coach / front office member that sticks out to you as your favorite to interview?
We don't do a lot of one-on-ones. I was close with Bud. He's a golf lover, so we talked a lot of golf together. I wouldn't say front office wise. I mean, they're all great people, but they're dogs. Like they're working, man. It's shown in the results, but we don't get a ton of access to the front office members throughout the season. But I've only had pleasant interactions really with all of them. Even Coach Griffin, I had an opportunity to sit down with him before this season, and he's a very likable guy. I think Milwaukee is going to really like his personality and what he's going to kind of the blue collar mentality he'll bring to the city.
I like that.
I like that a lot, actually. Yeah. So what are you most excited about this upcoming Bucks season besides seeing Giannis and Damian Lillard together?
I'm just excited for the spectacle. I'm excited not only to see those two play together. I mean, we are talking about generational talents, 2 NBA 75ers on the same roster. in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Dude.
Think about it. It's pretty incredible. Of course, it's going to be always compared to Kareem and Oscar and, what that era of Bucks basketball was like. But Giannis will go down as the best Buck of all time. And Dame has a totally different skill set than Oscar. So what Oscar and Kareem didn't have is Chris Middleton and Brooke Lopez and Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton. And it's just, this roster is incredible right now on paper. They haven't played a game yet, so we have no idea what it's going to look like, what potential injuries may happen. But on paper, this is the best Bucks team I've ever seen, and I think that they feel that they prefer to be the small market team that is, kind of hides in the weeds for most of the year, doesn't get talked about often, but people are going to be talking about the Milwaukee Bucks this year, and the spotlight is going to be on. And I'm excited to see what the show is going to look like. I'm excited to see what Chris Middleton's going to look like as a true number 3, as a 2-time All-Star. And I'm excited to see what the new defense is going to look like under Coach Griffin. I think that we're going to get highlights. We're going to get Giannis. We're going to get Dame. That's what's going to be played nationally. But for all of us who are in the weeds day to day, I think Chris Middleton is going to have a spectacular year for the Bucks because he's healthy and because I think the Bucks know who's taking the last shot. And for a long time, we didn't really always know that. We thought it'd be Chris, but the Bucks season last year ended without them taking a shot. And I think this year they know it's Dame. So it's going to make everybody else around them better and more open. And somebody like Chris is going to benefit the most from it, I think.
That's a good point. If you need somebody to talk about the ins and outs of all the games, we know some guys that talk about it every Wednesday.
Yeah, love it.
Well, I have a lot of good stuff on Dame where he's gonna fix the pick and roll because Giannis wasn't as efficient as he should have been. Knowing who Giannis is as a player, Dame and Giannis pick and roll is going to be disgusting. Like you said, the last shot is going to be Dame. The half court offense is now fixed with Damian Lillard. And don't get me wrong, like we love Drew. We gave Drew his flowers.
Yeah.
But man, Damian Lillard, dude, like this is Damian Lillard we're talking about here, man. Like, you put him on a pedestal.
Probably say this is Dame. Okay, I get it. I wasn't happy about it. I'm as big of a Drew Holiday fan as anybody, as a person and as a player. But when you step back, it's Dame. I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest and a type of talent that Milwaukee has not seen at the guard position in a long time, probably since Ray Allen, honestly. And he's more of a small forward, but Dame's special. Giannis calls him a killer, and
he is.
It's gonna be fun to see how those two play off each other.
Yeah. So
I can't wait to be there in person tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I mean, we know what we're gonna get out of Dame and Giannis and Chris's, right? But who do you think is the most underrated player on the Bucks? My answer.
Yeah, I think Bobby's going to be really key for the Bucks as their backup center. He really has a chip on his shoulder that he didn't win Sixth Man of the Year last year, and he definitely has something to prove. As far as the new guys on the roster, I think Malik Beasley. This is going to be a really good fit for him at this point in his career. He's gone through some things the last couple of years trying to find his identity. He kind of got branded as a bad teammate in LA and Utah. And I had a chance to talk to him before the season. And he told me that one of his first days in the gym, they do this 100 drill where they shoot 100 threes. He made 91 of them.
Oh, my.
And the next day.
Did I hear that Steve Novak said that Damian Lillard did it like fresh off the plane and he made 94?
Yeah, that was the next part of the story was he had finished.
I'm feeling the thunder. My bad.
No. It's great because Malik brought that up to me. He's like, I had the team record, my first practice, and then this guy comes into the gym and makes 94 fresh off the plane. It's Damian. So yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. They're gonna shoot, and I mean Beasley. It's a very small sample size, granted, but preseason he shot 42% from three. We're talking about. Him, Connaughton, Middleton, all getting really fresh looks from three is going to be the difference for this team.
Man, I can't wait to see Middleton as catch and shoot. Spoiler alert: he's in my bold predictions later when Jake and I get there. But so I think you kind of answered this a little bit, kind of tiptoed around it. But who besides Damian Lillard do you think is the Bucks' best addition?
Yeah, I think it's Malik. I think that he might even be starting as soon as tomorrow night. Again, this is just my opinion. I have no insight. I know he started a couple of the preseason games, so that wouldn't be any kind of crazy breaking news. But I like Pat coming off the bench with Bobby. I think that's a great second unit for the Bucks.
Yep.
So I think Malik has an opportunity to really create a nice niche for himself, almost like a better Bryn Forbes from that championship team. A guy who can
a little bit bigger too.
Yeah, a little bit bigger, and a guy who wants to defend the top guy. And that was never part of his identity in the NBA. He was, I'm going to score, I'm going to shoot a bunch of threes. But Adrian Griffin has gotten on him. I mean, he wants Malik to take on the top guard on the opposing teams, because that is unquestionably what they lost in trading Drew, is who's going to be their perimeter defenders. So that's why I think Malik Beasley is going to be really key for the Bucks and probably the biggest offseason addition. And don't sleep on Cam Payne either. He's got a fun energy about him as a backup point guard. Mm-hmm. And he is really excited to be a Milwaukee Buck. That much I can tell you. He raved about the experience being in Milwaukee during the finals when he was a part of the Suns team.
Sweet.
Oh, wow.
And he's really fired up about playing in front of Bucks fans. He couldn't believe the energy inside of Fiserv and, of course, out in the Deer District. I mean, they took notice of what Milwaukee has to offer for basketball fandom. And I think he's really fired up to play for the Bucks and have a chance to win again.
Oh,
I love that. That is awesome.
I have to wait until tomorrow to watch the game. This is horrible right now. I feel like this is self-torture. Oh, my goodness. So this one's kind of a two-parter, but I'll ask you the first part. What are your impressions of the new coaching staff?
Yeah, well, obviously they just went through a major change with Terry Stotts stepping away. I never got a chance to talk to Terry, but I know that he was well regarded from talking to Pat and, of course, Dame about his impact on them offensively in their young careers. Adrian Griffin has been absolutely pleasant. I think he really does have an identity and he has a focus. And it's no secret that, Giannis had a hand in choosing the next head coach and being a part of the process. Same with Chris. So I think there's a reason Adrian Griffin is here, because he's making the stars of this roster believe that he has something. He's, as you've heard John Horst say, he is an absolute basketball nut. He's been around the game for his entire life. He's got kids who are around the game. And I think that he, as I said earlier, like his blue collar mentality is going to really fit in with Milwaukee and the team mentality of how he wants to build things. He has the right superstars around him. Dame is at the point in his career where he wants to win and he wants to do anything to win. And that's why I feel like him and Giannis are going to work so well together, because they're chasing the same goal at this point in their careers. It's not about individual accolades. Like, their identity is on rings. And I think that they're all in it for the right reasons. When you look at a team that they're playing tomorrow night, who's going to be without one of their top stars and James Harden, because it's become about him, and like, that's what makes the Bucks so likable. And gosh, what a dream gig for Adrian Griffin in year one.
Yeah.
To get a roster and then have John Horst be like, oh, by the way, we're going to add Dame Lillard to it as well. So
right?
I think he's excited about the opportunity.
So before we get you out of here, thank you again, man. This has been a wonderful experience. Whenever we do score predictions or record predictions, we do one from the head and one from the heart. The head, you're really thinking about it. You're going to be real. And the heart is like, if everything works out perfectly, this is how it's going to go. So if you could give me your score prediction or your record prediction from the head and the heart.
Yeah. First off, I'm fascinated by the in-season tournament. Like, I don't know how that dynamic is going to play into what the overall records are going to be and what the outlook of the NBA season. I know it's designed to get, guys to play more and to get away from load management, which I think would be really good for the game. Mm-hmm. Load management always costs the Bucks a couple of wins, right? Because, they're going to sit Dame. They're going to sit Giannis. Chris, right? I get how it works. You know, you make memories in the postseason. You make your money in the postseason. So I'm fascinated to see if guys' mentality changes at all with this early in-season tournament in December. That being said, I think my head and my heart are both in the 60-win area for the Milwaukee Bucks. I really think that this team is loaded. I could see right around 60 wins for this team.
Love it. We'll definitely revisit it. Kept you a couple extra minutes, but we really appreciate it. Like, seriously, it's awesome for us to be having grown up watching Wisconsin sports, and it used to be Fox Sports Wisconsin, and now it's Bally Sports, and we're watching people on TV that we've watched on TV for a long time, and now we started this show, and now we've actually gotten to talk to them, quote unquote, face to face. It's really enjoyable for us, and we really, really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, and again, I thank you guys for thinking of me. I mean, as I said at the beginning, I play in the playpen, man. So I'm always happy to talk about it, and like the passionate fans are why we also love what we do, because we know we're looking into a camera lens, but we know we're looking into people who care, and that makes our job way more enjoyable. It's fun to talk about wins, and we've gotten to do that a lot lately between the Brewers and the Bucks. But it also really matters to us to talk to people who care, and it keeps our fire lit. It keeps our passion going, because you don't get to see eyes. You don't get to talk to people every single day, but to know that there's people on the other side who genuinely have that passion that we also have is why we love doing it. So guys like you two, this gets me fired up for our first broadcast on Sunday. Tomorrow's on TNT, but our first game is on Sunday. And if you don't mind, a little plug, we've got an hour-long pregame show with a lot of really fun content from sit downs with Dame and Giannis that I've done. And I know Melanie has some stuff with Giannis as well. And Craig, Steve will be on set. So it's going to be a fun year of Bucks basketball. I can't believe we got Giannis and Dame on the same team. So
I know, dude. I have to tell myself every Sunday after the Packers, look really young and, they have a bad loss. I'm like, we have Giannis and Dame. We have Giannis and Dame.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Enjoy it. I mean, you never know how long these things can last. So don't take them for granted. So.
All righty. Well, I think we'll be in touch. We'd love to have you back during the season if there's some time that works out between getting fitted for some new suits and some travel. That we'll try to have you back on when it works out. But we really appreciate it again. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you guys, and looking forward to seeing what this Bucks team can do. We'll have a lot of fun.
Yes,
all right. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too, guys. Have a good one. Thanks again for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, that's fun. It's always fun.
Dude, let's just take a sec. Let's take a breather real quick. Take a breather. I need a breather. Dude. Wow, dude. Like,
I can feel that my cheeks hurt right here from smiling that entire 35 minutes that he was on with us.
Dude, my mouth was shaking because I was trying to let him talk, but I couldn't help but smile the whole time. I was like, don't smile. Don't smile. But I just couldn't help it, man. That was awesome. Again, the Bally Sports team in general. Vinny's been on a few times. He's been tremendous, giving people the perspective that they need on the Brewers. Stephen Watson obviously covers Brewers and Bucks. We've had Craig on. Craig has given us our flowers. Every time that we talk to somebody and they give us our flowers, it just, he talked about their fire being lit by fans that care. That kind of stuff lights our fire. That kind of stuff gets us going, wants us to work a little bit harder, wants us to make more stuff, come up with better questions, have more guests. That's the stuff right there, man. I love it, dude.
Yeah, that's talking to people that are living the dream and them saying that, they think what we're doing is good is cool.
We're living the dream too. We just don't know it yet, right?
Yeah. Well, we're working on the dream. It'll be the full-time dream someday, but got more work to do. So in the meantime, we can go into the rest of our Bucks primer. We got some good nuggets from Stephen Watson. I think as far as the coaching staff goes, Talking about Adrian Griffin, we know he's a player's coach. He's probably going to play the starters for more minutes per game than Mike Budenholzer was using his starters. He usually played them about 32, 34 minutes a game. It seems like Adrian Griffin's probably going to be more around like that 34, 36 area, which that's where I get the thought that, you know what, I'm going to hold on to it because I have a bold prediction that revolves around that. But it's a good one. With Adrian Griffin, it seems like Brook Lopez is still going to play the drop defense, but he's just not dropping quite as far. So I'll say that. And then listening to not only Adrian Griffin, but also Pat Connaughton talk about losing Drew Holiday and replacing his defense, they both kind of tiptoed around saying it the same way, that you don't do it individually, but he believes that they can replace his defense collectively.
Yep.
Which is something that stood out to me about Adrian Griffin.
Yep, I 100% agree with that too. People keep talking about the defense, and the thing that I always wanted to remind them, and I was just chomping at the bit because I knew we had this day planned, right? And I'm just waiting for it. We don't know what this team's going to look like collectively on the defensive end, right?
Yeah.
We understand what they look like, the shots that we were giving up, the percentages, blah, blah, blah. We've talked about that for the last couple of years with Budenholzer, right? And just like Drew, I'm not trying to drag Coach Bud down because he brought us some great memories too, and he coached some great teams, and we had some record-setting teams under Coach Bud. But let's we call an apple, a spade, right? The defense just wasn't up to par. The Heat figured that out pretty handily. They beat us 2 of the last 4 years in the playoffs. So, I mean, obviously they had the criteria to beat it. They had the solution to the math problem. So the thing about the defense is you could tell the difference, right? They played that preseason game against OKC. They look kind of flat. They come out the next game. I forgot who they were playing. I think it was the Grizzlies game. Yeah, I think it was the Grizzlies game. And you just saw everybody up on their man, pressing. And that's the thing that I'm the most excited for with Griffin. And, we've listened to all the interviews and all the players talk, and he seems like an intense guy. Like he seems like he cares. And from a straight fan perspective, dude, like I care too. So I want my coaches and my players to care. Like I've always talked about, I do care if we lose, right? But I say I don't care if we lose. I just want them to fight. Because I'm fighting from my house for this team. Because that's all I could do. All I could do is be at my house and fight for my team, right? But they go to practice and they play the games, and it seems like he cares, and I think that's going to trickle down to everybody else. Because he's going to get to Giannis, and like Stephen Watson just said, when Giannis talks, everybody listens. So I think that's the thing that I'm most excited about with Griffin, is he seems like he cares, he's intense, and I really think the defense is going to take a couple levels up, dude.
I think the thing, too, that I want to add in that I didn't have in my notes because it just came from Stephen Watson is that it made an impression on me when Stephen Watson kept bringing up that he's a blue-collar type person. That, I think, is a really necessary thing because, it's a mindset more so, and I think that's why he brought it up and said it that way. But it's also, having that, like I think he said the phrase gritty also. Yeah. Is being able to grit through things, and maybe that'll inspire some more toughness and some more aggression on the defensive end, like you keep bringing up. So I do appreciate that as well. I don't know if there's really a lot that you want to say on some of the other assistants that they have. I don't know if they're going to try to replace Terry Stotts. It doesn't seem like it's something that they're super pressing about. So I'm not super concerned about it. If John Horst is comfortable where they are, I'm comfortable where they are. I think we've more than deservedly can put our trust in John Horst.
Agreed. As far as like the rest of the staff, I mean, Bucks fans should know who Joe Prunty is, right? Yep. He's been here before. He's been around the league for a long time. He's been in San Antonio, Dallas, Portland. He was in Cleveland, Brooklyn. I mean, this guy's been around for a long time. He was with the Hawks for the last couple of years. He was an interim coach for the Bucks for a little bit there. He was an interim coach for the Hawks for a little bit. So you should know who he is. Patrick Mutombo, he's been around for a little while too. I mean, since 2012, he started his coaching career with Denver. He's been with the Spurs. the Raptors. He was with the Raptors 905 as a player development coach. And last year he was on the Phoenix Suns coaching staff. So he's been around for a while as well. DJ Baker, he's strictly just been a G League guy, player development guy for the Pistons. Now he's on the Bucks. Nate Mitchell, he was in the G League with the Maine Red Claws. He was on the Raptors 905, and then he was an assistant on the Hornets team that was very, very offensive-minded, in my opinion. So I think that Nate Mitchell could be a guy that we like to do under the radar. I think he's a under the radar kind of coach. Nate Mitchell would be my choice, in my opinion. But, really the coaching staff as a whole, I think is strong. So
yeah, and they kept Oppenheimer and Vin Baker as well.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Dad, we can talk to the Wisco Ball guy if the Bucks win it all this year. We might have to get some In Horse We Trust shirts. We know a guy that makes shirts.
I like that, actually.
All right, let's talk some transactions. We have additions and departures. We can talk about the additions first. I mean, we're looking at Malik Beasley, Robin Lopez, Andre Jackson Jr., Chris Livingston, Damian Lillard, Cameron Payne, and then they retained Chris, Brooke, Jay, Thanasis. I mean, who do you want to talk to or talk about with all these guys that they brought in?
I mean, I think we've covered Dame, right? I mean, Dame is an unbelievable playmaker. He's an unbelievable shot maker and shot taker. The guy is not scared of any moment that you could throw at him on a basketball court. Double teams, shot clock running down, playoffs, it doesn't matter.
Game winners.
He's Damian Lillard, right? Cameron Payne, a little upset that he brought him up because I was actually really, really excited about Cameron Payne. The thing that I'm most excited about Cameron Payne is we're going to get what we get out of the Dame and Giannis, right? That's going to be the main focal point of this season is watching how that relationship on and off the court is going, right? 82-0 is a very bold record prediction. That would be insane.
This is 100% true. My dad said Dame gives fans a giddy feeling when you realize he's on our team.
Man, it really does, right?
We released our stat projections for Damian Lillard today, and we'll refresh on them in a little bit. But the thing that I keep saying is there was no point in the offseason until I literally saw the tweet that it was official that I thought that I would be projecting Damian Lillard statistics for the season.
No point. Just to go off topic for a sec, me and you were actually talking, right? And we were working on stuff together. And, we're seeing all the news on, the Raptors are the front runner. And me and you kept talking like, why are the Bucks not more of this conversation? And, lo and behold, we're at work the next day on a Wednesday, and Damian Lillard is a Buck. And I shit you not, and God is my witness on my daughter's life. I ran out of the paint booth, looked at my phone, and I said, holy shit, because I was losing it. And about 15 people were staring at me, and I had to go all the way across and talk to my basketball guy because he was over in the bottom booth, and we're just chopping it up. And I'm like, bro, Damian Lillard is a Milwaukee Buck. I'm kind of shaking, and I'm like, bro, Damian Lillard. They're like, what? He's like, what did you give up? I'm like, I don't give a shit. We have Damian Lillard, dude. Like, do you understand this?
When I first saw the tweet and it was like breaking news, Damian Lillard, I'm like, oh, okay, he's going to Miami, he's going to Toronto, and then I saw he traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. I was like, what? Because we talked about it. Like, I didn't think he was going to be traded to the Bucks because I thought they'd have to include Marjan, which was a deal breaker for Bradley Beal, it sounded like.
Yep.
So I thought, that wasn't really going to come around to it, and the general consensus was that other teams were able to give better packages and more picks, which was true. But it sounds like other teams kind of lowballing the Trailblazers allowed the Bucks to sneak in there and make their deal. That's exciting.
That's business, baby.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up with Cam Payne? I have a couple of stats that I want to throw out there with him.
Yeah, the thing that I'm most looking forward to, well, first of all, he has playoff experience, so that's something that people aren't bringing up about him.
True.
And he plays at a different pace. I love that he just likes to push the ball up the floor, right? And
good call.
It's going to be something that when we're playing that defense and he can get out in front of the defense because he's one of the quickest players in the NBA and he can go get some easy buckets in fast break. That's going to be something that people are going to really start to notice, towards the middle of the season when the Bucks are really starting to hit their stride, because we're going to start out good. We're going to be a good team. Don't get me wrong. But there are going to be a little bit of growing pains as everybody kind of figures out the spots that they want to
Yep.
be in, right? Like Chris has his spots,
Yep.
and they've all kind of talked about this. Giannis, Dame, and Chris have all kind of talked about this, letting each other be each other, right? And obviously, Giannis and Chris, they understand each other, but they got to let Dame be Dame, and Giannis has said that. So as that formula is mixing and becoming the perfect mixture that it's going to be come June 2024, it's gonna be incredible, dude. So we're gonna have to let that happen. But in the middle of the season, I'm telling you, guys like Campaign and Pat Connaughton and Bobby Portis, they're gonna be doing a lot of heavy lifting. Brook Lopez is still one of the most underrated. And we used to say it about Drew Holiday, and it's still true about Drew Holiday. He's still underrated in my opinion.
Yeah.
At times he can literally take over games for weak stretches, right? But Brook Lopez does not get brought up enough for underrated players. The guy impacts the game in so many different ways. It's insane.
How many times last year did we say that we have a big four?
Right? And we still do.
Yeah. We have a bigger four.
Yeah. Bigger four.
With Campaign, we don't get the defense that Javon Carter presented, but I think we still get just as good at everything else. And from a player who's 4 inches taller. So Campaign, he gives the Bucks the backup point guard that they needed. He's a 36.3 career 3-point shooter.
Like that.
And then the last 2 seasons, he averaged 4.5 and 4.9 assists per game.
I like that a lot.
So Campaign, he fits in just absolutely seamlessly when you look at the Bucks roster.
Yeah, he does.
Going to Malik Beasley, for me, day one, he steps into the role previously occupied by Grayson Allen. He's going to be relied on as a 3-and-D guy, probably a little bit more than Grayson Allen was. And Stephen Watson telling us that he wants that it makes an impression, which is it's good to hear that a guy wants to take that assignment on. It's an important one. Yeah. And then he's just going to be the 5th option on the floor when it comes to the starting lineup. Reggie said, I think Malik Beasley is going to be fun. He's a good 3-point shooter, and it cannot be lost on anybody how much gravity that Giannis and Damian Lillard have. They are gigantic planets when it comes to the solar system of a basketball floor.
Yep.
This is a sweet analogy I'm laying out right now. They have a large gravity to both of them. And then you're talking about putting Brook Lopez, who is, I'll say, top 3 shooting centers in the NBA. Chris Middleton, who we know is a lethal shooter, and Malik Beasley, who led the NBA in 3-pointers made off the bench last year. And you're putting those guys into situations where they can get 3-point looks like warm-up jump shots.
And for all those people that are, and I've responded this, I don't even know how many times, but I'm going to say it again live on camera. People always say there's only one basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a difference between only one, that term with this Bucks team and the Phoenix Suns team. Because with the Phoenix Suns, they need the ball to be effective. Not that they can't be effective off ball, but they are most effective with the ball in their hands. Giannis and Dame, Giannis can affect the game by setting a screen. Think about that for a second.
Yep.
He can have a massive impact by setting a screen, and both of them are willing passers.
Yeah.
Beal and Booker are not willing passers, in my opinion. I do think that KD is a little bit underrated with his playmaking. He's gotten better as his career has gone on. Same thing with defense. He's kind of grown in both areas. But Giannis and Dame are willing playmakers. They want to make the right basketball play.
If there's one thing that I hope sticks around from Budenholzer's system offensively, is I really like the play where they did it with Pat Connaughton and they've done it with Giannis a little bit, is where they put them in the corner.
Yep.
And then they run a pick and roll on the other side. And as they run the pick and roll, they have him cut to the lane because he's gotten some massive dunks out of it.
Yeah.
So I would like some stuff like that to stick around. Robin Lopez, Andre Jackson Jr., Chris Livingston, anything you want to say on those 3?
Andre Jackson Jr. in 2 years is going to be a monster. So stick around for that.
He was one of my players that I noticed in the preseason, is seeing it, especially in the second preseason game. The dude is working his ass off defensively.
Yeah.
He's not known as a defensive guy. He's known a little bit more for his athleticism and his passing, but he's working his ass off on defense, and I see it and I appreciate it. So, Andre Jackson Jr., if you're watching this, I see you and I appreciate you.
I will say that Andre Jackson and Marjan, the player profiles that they've had coming out of the draft, they're almost a marriage, like too perfect to like John Horse is cooking, dude. Let's just call it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
He's fucking cooking, dude.
Robin Lopez, he's here for depth, and listening to him talk on media day, he said he's here to be a utility player and to do what the team needs. That's enough for me to give you a roster spot.
You know what? You just make us laugh. You wrestle with Bango a little bit, wrestle with the other mascots. You do that WWE shit that you were doing. I'm cool, bro. We're going to get plenty of highlights.
And maybe one per game.
Right.
The Boston 3-party is back. Love it.
We're going to be chilling, bro.
And then Chris Livingston. He's 6'6" and has a 6'11" wingspan.
Yeah, dude.
Basically just some more youth and athleticism. He kind of has a similar profile to Marjan as a slasher with some scoring ability. And his length is a defensive weapon.
Yep.
So that's a building block to me with Chris Livingston.
Agreed.
The departures, Drew Holiday, obviously, Grayson Allen, Joe Ingles, Javon Carter, Goran Dragic, and Myers Leonard, some depth guys. But anything you want to say about any of those guys on the departures?
I mean, we've replaced all of them. So I mean, thank you for your time, Milwaukee. Goran Dragic didn't make the impact I thought he was going to make. Wesley Matthews, I appreciate everything that he did for us. He was key for us on defense in a lot of big time moments.
Yep.
Joe Ingles, I really thought we were going to get a little bit more out of him in the playoffs. Grayson Allen, you're welcome for turning you into a good defender because now you're a decent on-ball defender. I watched some of that game last night. Javon Carter, he's going to have the time of his life playing for his hometown team, so I'm super happy for him.
Yep.
Drew Holiday is going to succeed in Boston. Boston's going to be a tremendous team.
Yep.
As much as I hate them, I'm just going to say what it is. They're going to be really, really good, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be the Bucks. It's going to be the Bucks and the Celtics. They're going to be throwing haymakers at each other. What has it been for the last couple of years anyways? It's been Bucks and the Celtics. So, I mean, nothing has changed.
It would be stupid to try to discredit them.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a little bit added drama on this already rivalry that we had with them. So.
And we'll talk about them as a threat level in a little bit here. But and on your subject of bringing up Wesley Matthews, thank you. When he retires, I would instantly bring him on as an assistant coach.
100%. And I think he would take it too.
Literally the day he retires, give him a Milwaukee Bucks polo and put him on the bench.
Great.
All right. So on stat predictions. So we've been using them to count down. So if you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, you'll be able to see our stat projections on there. We did all of them up to today. Today's release was Damian Lillard. Tomorrow for Bucks game day is Giannis Antetokounmpo's stats. So if you want to see where we have Giannis projected for this season, it's going to be exciting. That's coming out tomorrow for game day. Dad, Wesley Matthews signed with Atlanta, so he is in Atlanta. But so far we've released Malik Beasley and Marjan Beauchamp, Jay Crowder, Pat Connaughton, Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, and then today was Damian Lillard. Tomorrow our projections for Giannis will be out. And then we'll check on them through the season. So we can go in there and, we'll see what they do. We can put those all together actually in a post too after tomorrow when Giannis is released so you can look at all of them. But a couple more things. We have the Eastern Conference threat level. We have record predictions and our bold predictions, and then we are going to set up Badgers. So a couple more segments here. The Eastern Conference threat level. So I have 3 teams. Jake has 3 teams. We have them on a 1 through 10. The 3 that I have are the Celtics, the Knicks, and the 76ers. So I'm just going to rattle my 3 off.
Yep.
I'm going to go bottom up. So actually, you know what? No, because I'm gonna wait for the last one because I think you're gonna be like, oh, sneaky. I see what you did there with my last one. But I'm gonna start with the Celtics. They're a 9 out of 10. I would be fine with it if you wanted to put them at a 10 out of 10. There's really no denying that they have a big 4. With Drew, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kristaps Porzingis. What they're going to have to battle, first of all, is health, especially with Kristaps. And then their depth took a large hit. Large hit. They desperately need Al Horford to have a career year at age 37. Because they lost, they have Derek White still, but they lost Marcus Smart in the Porzingis trade. They lost Robert Williams and Malcolm Brogdon in the trade for Drew Holiday. And what I think is arguably their biggest loss, maybe besides Marcus Smart, is they lost Grant Williams to the Dallas Mavericks.
Yep.
He was one of their most versatile players.
He guarded a lot of positions.
He guarded 1 through 5 basically, and he shot like 75% from 3 against the Bucks in the playoffs, it felt like.
Yeah.
And he's a flopper, but he gets foul calls. He gets calls. So, and he's a capable defender. So the Celtics lost that. That's why I don't have them as a 10 out of 10. But they're still, like I said, they have a big 4. They still have Derek White. They're just going to have to try to cover up their interior defense when they play the Bucks. That's going to be their Achilles heel. My second team that I have is the Knicks. I have them as a 6 out of 10 on the threat level. They have a pretty decently balanced roster. Jalen Brunson, they added Dante DiVincenzo. They have Josh Hart, who's a player that I like. They have RJ Barrett, who I think is a player that's overrated. But they have Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. They just don't have as much talent of other Eastern Conference teams, in my opinion. They're just a pretty level team. They're a team that's basically you can lock them into the 4 or the 5 in the playoff seeding and pencil them into the second round of the playoffs to be beaten by one of the better teams. Josh said, I think New York's going to have a great year. I think they're going to have a solid year, but I don't think they're better than the Bucks, the Heat, the Celtics, or the Cavaliers. And then my last team I have is the Philadelphia 76ers. I have them as an incomplete out of 10.
Oh,
they are in trouble with James Harden.
Oh, you just shit on them so bad.
Whatever they are going to do, it all has question marks written on it because they still have James Harden on their roster. Yeah. He showed up apparently ready to travel with the team today, and they told him no, that he's not traveling with the team because he's not playing.
No freaking way.
Yes, they told him to stay in Philadelphia.
No freaking way, dude.
He wasn't going to play. It was already announced that he wasn't going to play, but he was still going to travel with the team, and they told him to stay in Philly.
That is disrespectful.
Well, you're going to tell me he doesn't deserve it? You're going to tell me?
No, I'm not taking his side, but like
3 years.
Listen. I'm not taking his side. I hate James Harden just as much as you do. I shouldn't say hate. I dislike James Harden just as much as you do, but bro, that's disrespectful. Like, Jesus Christ.
He is. I don't really have any problem saying it. He is cancer. Yeah. Everywhere he's gone, he's left nothing but problems behind him.
Yeah.
I can't tell you if any team that he's been on has been like, we miss James Harden. We're sad to see him go. I don't think he's had that.
Thunder, no. Houston, that's the only one that has a chance. Brooklyn, no.
Or he looked like Cadillac from the And One tour when he left Houston.
Jesus Christ.
On the subject of the 76ers, outside of James Harden, Tyrese Maxey is a future star. Joel Embiid was able to cry his way to an MVP. Tobias Harris is inferior to Chris Middleton, and Kelly Oubre does not move the needle. I am not scared of Philadelphia at all. If we end up having a Bucks 76ers matchup in the playoffs, I strongly believe the Bucks win in 5 games or less.
Can I tell you a random but hilarious story about Kelly Oubre and James Harden? So I saw this floating around on the internet, and this is apparently the reason that James Harden has asked for a trade from the 76ers, or it's one of the reasons. So when James Harden was in Houston, he fell in love with this girl, right? And he had a birthday party, and his girl left with you heard this? his girl left with another guy, and the other guy ended up being Kelly Oubre. And this girl ended up falling in love with Kelly Oubre, getting married to him, having a couple kids with him. And James Harden was like, "Yo, get me off this team." So James Harden got traded, obviously, to Brooklyn. We know that. And then he ends up in Philadelphia, where he then starts, grumblings of asking for a trade. So Daryl Morey responds to the trade request by signing Kelly Oubre, who stole his girl, dude.
Oh, that's funny.
That is the biggest middle finger without a physical middle finger I've ever seen in my life. That's hilarious. So,
all right, give me your Eastern Conference threat level, and then we'll do bold predictions, record predictions, and then get Mikey in here.
Yeah, so I'll knock this out real quick. So the top one, I have the Miami Heat. I have them as an 8 out of 10. Now people are gonna be like 8. I would have them higher, but they actually lost a lot. They lost Gabe Vincent. They lost Max Strus. Both guys were vital in their run last year.
Yep.
And guys that they developed. And the biggest loss for me personally is Udonis Haslem. You cannot understate the locker room presence that guy was. Like, when you think about the Miami Heat, you think about a lot of things, right?
There's another guy that should have handed a polo as soon as he retired.
Dude, for real. He should have been wearing a polo the last 2 years, but he decided to put a jersey on. But anyways, when you think of the Miami Heat, you're gonna think about a lot of things. But the one thing that you're guaranteed to think about is Udonis Haslem, because he was there for it all. They kept Love. They got Josh Richardson in a trade. They kept Thomas Bryant. The one thing that they do have going for them, though, because the Miami Heat are still a very well-coached team. He's been to 6 finals. Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the NBA. And they have Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is one of the most self-motivated players in the NBA. Even if he does look like a gigantic moron in his now picture for the year. I mean, I don't know what any of that was. But he's doing a lot of talking.
Doing it because it's funny.
It's not funny to me.
I
think he looks like an idiot. But 8 out of 10, I think, is a good score. But the top 3 players for them, I have Hero, Bam, and Jimmy. That's a pretty solid big 3, in my opinion. Hero doesn't play any defense, but Bam and Jimmy, those are 2 terrific players. I honestly, if you had to ask me, a little off topic, if I had to pick between Bam Adebayo or Anthony Davis, I'm thinking Bam Adebayo 10 out of 10 times. And I'm not even shitting you when I say that.
I know exactly why, and the reason is availability.
Yep, and he still impacts the games in the same exact way. So it is what it is. Next, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you might not like this, but I have them as the same threat level as New York Knicks. I have them as a 6 out of 10. And the main reason is they don't have anybody to guard Giannis. I'm sorry.
That's fair.
You could look up a 15-minute highlight reel of Giannis strictly just dunking on Evan Mobley and who am I thinking of? Jared Allen. Jared Allen, he dunked on him so many damn times that they made a graphic, in the game of 2K because of how Giannis dunked on Allen and his reaction afterwards. So they re-signed Karis LeVert. They signed Georges Niang. They signed a guard named Ty Jerome. They acquired Max Strus from the Heat, who, by the way, he was the Heat's 4th leading scorer, so that's a bigger loss than they're letting on. And they signed Tristan. All I do is cheat on my wife, Thompson. So they still got some good players. Donovan Mitchell is a tremendous player. He's probably the best shooting guard in the league. Maybe not. He's up there. Him or Booker.
Yeah.
Darius Garland, he's a good player, but he's really a one-trick pony. He's a good when he's on from 3, he's a terrific player, but other than that, he's undersized and he doesn't play defense.
Right.
Evan Mobley, he needs to take a big step up in his 3-point shooting to really become a threat. So then my last one,
too.
Yeah,
he needs that 2019 Giannis and the white tank top. He needs that offseason.
Yeah, real bad. I have the Indiana Pacers, and the Indiana Pacers on paper actually have a really, really nice roster. Yep. But they acquired Obi Toppin, which is actually an underrated move. I think Obi Toppin is going to be terrific for the Pacers. He fits in really, really well with that roster. Tyrese Halliburton.
They never used him right in New York, in my opinion.
No, they didn't. He's going to fit in really good with the way that the Pacers like to play. But Tyrese Halliburton, 20 points, 10 assists. He shot 41% from the field, 40% from 3. 46% 87% from the field and 87% from the free throw line. So he's almost a 50-40-90 guy. Miles Turner, we both love Miles Turner. The guy can shoot threes. The guy blocks shots. He runs the floor. He's terrific. And Buddy Hield, we all know he's a striper from the three-point line. So that's actually a very solid core of big three. If any of them could take that next step into stardom, that could really, really make them a viable threat. But right now I have them as a 4 out of 10 just because they're not there. They're a fun team to watch, but they're not there.
Yeah, that's fair. I think another guy that needs to be brought up on the subject of the Pacers is Bruce Brown.
Oh, that's a good one.
They snagged him from Denver. Yeah. I think he's another one of those guys that fits their identity, and it gives them a defensive presence that they need.
I like that.
All right, so let's do our record prediction. Steven Watson, 60 wins.
I was like, what?
So let's do our head and heart record predictions. What do you have their record prediction from the head?
I have just shy of 60. I have 59-23.
From the head?
Yep.
All right. I have them at 56 wins from the head, still finishing as the 2 seed in the East. Okay. What do you have their record prediction from the heart?
This is where I went just over the 60-win mark, but I am at 62 wins from the heart.
Oof, that'd be amazing. I would love to see that. From the heart, I have them at 59 wins.
Ooh.
So I think they're realistically, if you're looking at a window, I do think they'll be somewhere in that 56 to 60 range.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, here we go. Last segment, the most fun one. Bold predictions. Give me your first bold prediction.
So the Bucks will average their most points ever in a season, and they will lead the NBA in points per game at 125 points per game. The most points the Bucks have ever averaged in a season was in 2020, 2021 when they averaged 120.
Damn.
You like that one?
That ties in really nicely to my first one.
Oh, nice.
And I talked about this with Adrian Griffin, using guys for more minutes per game.
Yeah.
I think Giannis and Damian Lillard will both continue to average 30-plus points a game by playing more minutes under Adrian Griffin than they would have under Coach Bud.
Oh, damn. I like that. Oh, your dad coming in hot. That's a real nice one.
Oh, shit. That'd be crazy. Has that ever happened? I bet it's happened before, but two guys on the same team, that'd be amazing.
There's no way. Well, maybe when there was like freaking 3 people in the league that mattered, but that was a long time ago when that happened. So here's my next one. I think you're going to like this one too. Giannis will lead the league in points per game, so he's going to win the scoring title.
Okay.
And he's going to win the Defensive Player of the Year. So the last time Giannis won the Defensive Player of the Year, he averaged 29.5 points per game. That's second all time for a guy winning Defensive Player of the Year. MJ averaged 35. That was the most ever. Giannis will be just short. He'll average 34, his number.
Man. We haven't brought up at any point this season that Giannis, shortly after the Bucks got eliminated by the Heat, he posted like the tweet of like him sitting on the bench that we're getting angry Giannis this year.
Bro, I was thinking it when he said to Bobby Portis that he's pissed off. I was like, so we're getting Bobby Portis pissed off and Giannis pissed off, and then we're just going to have Dame shooting 35-footers? Sign me up.
And that ties into my second one because we're also getting Chris Middleton off ball in catch-and-shoot situations. My second one is that Chris Middleton shoots 50% on catch-and-shoot threes.
Oh, hell no, bro. He shoots 50%?
On catch-and-shoot, not overall. But on catch and shoot specifically.
Bro, catch and shoot, bro. I don't care. 50%, you're telling me that 1 out of every 2 he's making?
Dude, when he's – bro, okay, listen to me. You're going to have Dame and Giannis running a pick and roll. You're going to have Chris Middleton in the opposite corner, and you have Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo running a pick and roll, and you're going to tell me that Chris Middleton's not going to get 3 wide-open threes every single game by himself in the opposite corner? In addition to what Chris Middleton brings himself?
Yeah.
Just by trading for Damian Lillard, we got Chris Middleton 3 wide-open threes per game without him having to dribble the ball.
Yep. And that's going to save
He's going to shoot 50% on catch and shoot.
I like that. All right, my last one is Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is going to make 300 three-pointers this season. He's going to move to 4th all-time in three-point makes. There has been 6 times that somebody has made 300 threes. 4 times has been by Steph Curry. Shocker.
Shocking.
1 time by Harden, his MVP year, and 1 time by Klay Thompson. So Damian Lillard is going to join that list of players who make 300 threes in a season.
All right,
That was
you're
my
going to love my
least
last one. This is a perfect one to end on. The Milwaukee Bucks win the championship without playing a single Game 7.
Oh, boy. Everything's in 6?
Everything's in 6 or less.
Everything's in 6. I like that. Let's go.
All right. Again, as we're wrapping up with the Bucks, I want to again give another thank you to Stephen Watson for joining us.
Yes.
Not that we don't like having Mike on the show to bring in our second guest of the day.
What's up, buddy?
So no offense to Mikey, but Stephen Watson was an awesome guest, and we really appreciate him for joining us to talk about the Brewers for a little bit in the Bucks. But we're going to switch into the Badgers. So the Badgers had a really interesting comeback win on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And we talked about, having a freshman quarterback. We talked about Braden Locke a lot last Wednesday. And we have some takeaways for today. But jumping into our power pair players, we are going – Mike has our offensive power pair player.
Oh, okay. So offense, we got we decided on Phil Longo, I believe.
Yep.
Just with you could go multiple ways with this. Obviously, some certain guys stuck out, but no. And more so, you can pick multiple parts of the game, but it was more so on that final drive. We got to give a shout out to a couple guys. You got Braden Locke, obviously, with the clutch throws. You got the big man Nolan Rucci with that absolute wild of a call that no one saw coming. And then you got Braylon Allen, too, who converted a crucial 3rd and 10 when we were right around the midfield area. And Illinois didn't have only five guys in the box. It was like a regular defensive setup, too. So I think the fact that Braylon got that 3rd and 10 speaks large volumes, because it wasn't like they had everybody completely spread out on Illinois' end. So, no, but I mean, that last drive, I think, is really predicated to how we want this offense to, look like down the road. And the fact that we could get it done with a guy like Braden Locke, who was making his first career start, definitely speaks volumes. I don't care it's Illinois. This is at a Big Ten school on the road with windy, very windy conditions too, mind you. So no, Phil Longo put together at one hell of a final drive there specifically. Even the touchdown throw to Pauling earlier in the game too. He set up. Will Pauling got his first touchdown last game. Shout out. My bad. No, that final drive by Longo. I think that's a replica of what we want to do. Balanced attack, because Braylon got his touches, and even a 5-star recruit big man can even catch a touchdown for us. So props to Mr. Longo.
Hey, that was a hands catch too. That was a hands catch, not body.
Dude, he almost overthrew him. Like that was crazy. It was crazy. Like, and Nolan Rucci's 6'7", or he might be 6'8", and he almost overthrew, which is wild, dude. So no, what a wild play call. I did not expect it at all, as I'm sure no one in Badger Nation expected. Because Nolan Rucci, obviously, he's a backup left tackle. What the hell is he doing out there?
Game on the line. Let's throw it to a lineman, right? I mean,
credit to Phil Longo. That's part of the reason why he's in there. Credit to Phil Longo for having the stones to call that play.
Man.
For defense, we went with our guy CJ Getz. I said this a couple weeks ago, he's really adapting to the outside linebacker role really well. He had 10 tackles on Saturday, had half of a sack and a pass defense. For some reason, PFF credited him with 2 sacks. I don't know about that, but I'll give him 1. I'll meet in the middle. I'll give him 1 sack, and then a pass defense. Just good work by him. I really appreciating this. It feels almost like a carbon copy of what I was saying last year, where it feels like every game he continues to get better and do more. We're seeing that this season too. We're seeing CJ Getz doing more and getting better as the weeks go on. So I'm appreciating seeing that. Josh, we'll come to your question here in a minute when we get into some things on offense. But Jake, who is our underrated performer this week?
So This is going to sound a little corny, but stick with me here for a sec. My underrated performer is the entire defense. Now, the reason for that is this team was down. They were out. They have a backup quarterback. To Mike's point, it's still a Big Ten school. They're on the road at a Big Ten school, and they have to have the realization to look their brothers in the face and be like, all right, are we going to talk about it or are we going to get it done, right? And Illinois scored with 4:30 left in the third quarter. And from that moment on, the defense was locked down. Oh my God, dude. I am just so proud of the heart that this team showed. If there's one thing that I took away from this game, is that this team has heart and they have guts. And what other team did we say that about, Tyler? We said that about the Brewers.
Yeah.
We said that about the Brewers in the middle of their season when they had to look themselves and their brothers in the face and be like, we're going to talk about it, we're going to get this shit done. I am so proud to be a Badger right now because of the way that they presented themselves from the middle of the third quarter, middle late, to in the fourth quarter. And, man, I tell you what, they talked about it and they got it done. So I love everything about that.
I honestly think this could be a turning point. And I know we obviously got Ohio State coming up this weekend. But I'll tell you what, when you see guys making those clutch plays, that's going to feed – other guys are going to feed off of that, like going into practice and even in the weeks, beyond obviously this weekend. But I think this could be a turning point. I really think so. In terms of – obviously we haven't played clean football. I mean, there's no question about it. But I do think as the weeks go on, we're going to see more different guys, making those big-time plays. And, calling out Skylar Bell too, who has had, has had a few drops, throughout the season, but he made, this is probably his biggest catch, arguably, of his whole time at Wisconsin. So, I mean, yeah, more so, like, I think this other guys are going to feed off of this going forward for sure.
Yeah. So, Mike, just keep going. What do you think improved on the offensive side of the ball?
So I actually had, like, I've talked about it in weeks past. We had different receivers like step up again. Obviously, we got the Skyler with the catch, and you got Will Pauling. Shout out to Will Pauling first off. I wanted to call this out too. He's 9th in total yards in the Big Ten, so he's pushing to get on that all Big Ten. Come at end of the year. So he's leading the Badgers in receiving yards too. Got his first touchdown too. Shout out. So. He seems to be like this year being like the go-to guy ultimately. I know DK can obviously do his thing. We know other guys that can do their thing too, but Will Pauling's putting together one heck of a year. So,
well, on this subject, real quick, let's answer Josh's question. Why do you guys think they don't use the guy from USC more, being CJ Williams?
I think that I don't know. I don't even think it's more such of a. I think it's a skill. I think it might be just like a skill issue with like other guys ahead of him. Will Pauling's obviously carving his name out. Skylar Bell is making clutch catches. You got Chimere DK as well, who's a seasoned vet. It is a loaded room, and we have to remember that CJ Williams is also very young. He's a redshirt freshman coming from USC who he hardly got any snaps. So not all college players are going to come in their freshman year and, have 700-800 yards of receiving their first year. That's just not the case. Yes, he was a high four-star recruit. That's fine. But you're going off of potential, kind of like NBA draft picks. You're going off of potential and what they can do.
Yep.
So that's how I would answer that.
The other guy that I want to throw in, you mentioned a bunch of guys. The other guy for me that needs to be brought up is Bryson Green.
Yeah.
God damn it, Tyler. Should let me go
He was my guy that I was excited for.
No.
I'm gonna give you that.
That's
but
fair.
he had 36 receptions at Oklahoma State last year, so he was going to be a factor.
Yeah, so I agree with both of you. I think it's a depth chart issue. I mean, Skylar Bell, all of his snaps, literally almost all of his snaps from the slot. Who's the guy that dominates that position? It's Will Pauling, right? Will Pauling dominates the slot. So when Will Pauling's not in the game, Skylar Bell is playing slot. And for me, when Bryson Green's not in the game, that's when CJ Williams is in the game. It's a depth chart thing. It has nothing to do with his talent or what he's going to be or what he's projected to be. Like Mike is saying, he's a 4-star. Who knows? He gets comfortable in this offense. He gets comfortable with Braden Locke, sees where he likes to put the ball. He's still going to get some playing time with him the rest of this season. Who says he doesn't pop off next year? He could be a breakout candidate next year, right? So let's just ride the wave. I don't think that there's any problem. He hasn't, voiced any, disconcern with his position on the depth chart either. So let it
That's
ride.
the thing is it's different in college than it is in the NFL, where it's in the college it is more like you're walking up steps to be in the next spot, whereas in the NFL it's more like, I don't know how I want to put it, but it's more like as soon as you're ready, you're in. But in college, it's more like we're going to go with the guys who have been here longer, who have done it more, and then we're going to work in the next guys to follow in those guys' footsteps into their positions. So it's kind of it's a little bit different in college than the NFL. And yeah, like you said, when Bryson Green's not in, that's when CJ Williams is in. And yes, he is technically, he's a freshman. I think he had what, like 2 receptions at USC last year? Like he barely played at USC.
I mean, let's not forget he had 2 big. I was about to call him out too. He had 2 big catches in that Illinois game too. He is getting snaps. I think he had a 19-yard reception before we got our first touchdown, I believe, and then he had another 14-yard catch later on that second half, which both catches were huge. So he is getting snaps. It is a depth issue though. So I'm still very excited for him. We got 3 more years of him, maybe 2 if he just balls out. So obviously I'm excited for his future, and he's definitely going to be a part of it, obviously, with Braden Locke.
Yeah, you were correct. It was a 19-yard reception on the touchdown drive. So good call.
I was looked at it too. I was like, good memory, Mike.
Yeah. He's got the coaching headset, and now all of a sudden he remembers every single play.
Yep. Somehow. Yeah.
He's even got the whiteboard behind him. You should have drawn like a random play on there. That Michigan.
I had to write something.
On you.
You should have drew the game when he touchdown on there.
Oh my God!
Like I said, you should have drawn a play on there that Michigan could try to steal.
I didn't have the time. I just reserved the room from like 4:55 to like 6:30. I don't know. I could have maybe in a few weeks, or I don't know. We'll come up with something more creative. I couldn't let it just stay in white. I had to write something. So,
hey, next week you can write Ohio State's overrated.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to do that.
No.
All right, Jake. What improved for you on the offensive side of the ball?
So, Josh, talking about Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen told the media that he had this game circled. The thing that improved for me was the running game, and it was all Braylon Allen. Like, there was other guys. I mean, Jackson Aker got a couple carries. Braden Locke was negative yards. It was Braylon Allen. He had 162 total yards, 1 touchdown, 112 yards after contact.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And 7 tackles missed forced tackles. He had 145 rush yards. That means 16 from receiving. Last year against Illinois, the reason that he had this game circled is he had 8 carries for 2 yards. So it just the worst game of his career. And the craziest part about him having 8 carries for 2 yards is he had a long run of 3 yards.
Yeah,
that's not good. So and if there's anything I can say about Braylon Allen, after that Illinois game, he actually had 4 straight 100-yard games. So if there's anything to look at from this game, Braylon Allen's about to feast. And if you're going to say, like, oh, no, we're playing Ohio State next, I was ready for that. Last year against Ohio State, he had 23 carries for 165 yards and a touchdown. So and they were number 3 last year, and we played them too. And last year's game was at Ohio State. This game's in Madison, so that'll be a big difference.
Yeah. So to answer your question, do you think he goes to the draft after this season? No, huh?
No, he's going to come back next year.
As it stands now, if the season ended today and I would say no either. He would be, I'm no analyst. He would be a day 3 guy right now, in my view. But there's a lot more to it. There's a lot of season left.
I disagree on the day 3. I disagree on the day 3. He's definitely a second rounder. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. There's a lot of season to go. I need to see him do more against a team like Ohio State.
Let me say this on the subject of when he would be drafted. Personally, I think he would go to the draft unless the rest of the season goes and he really ends up liking the system that they're installing, and he thinks he can thrive in it. The other thing is is that the thing that's going to keep him from being a potential first-round pick is he needs to develop more as a pass blocker.
Yes.
That's something that's going to translate to the next level.
Yes.
And
hold on, he had a crazy block in the
he did,
game.
and he's done it a couple times here
one
and
good
there,
one.
but he needs to be a consistently good pass blocker.
Yes.
Because Jake, I know you and I, when we've talked about some plays, there's been some kind of ugly misses where it's like Braylon Allen's got to find that guy and block him. So I think he's got to work on that. So whether it is something that he thinks is going to potentially hold him back from being a higher draft pick, then I could see him coming back. If it's something that teams are willing to deal with and draft him, then I could see him going to the draft. So I guess I do agree with you, Mike. We need to see kind of how the rest of the season goes.
I will say though, the Badgers are now 17-2 when Braylon rushes for over 100 yards. There's that. So,
and one of those losses is to Ohio State that we know.
Yes,
right.
Correct.
Okay, so for me, what improved on the offensive side of the ball is the offensive balance. The Badgers ran 76 plays on Saturday. Holy shit, that's a lot of plays. Josh said he's heartbroken that Ches is gone. Ches can come back because of medical reasons, so because he got injured. So Ches will be back next year.
Yeah, that's TBD yet.
Yeah. I'm putting my eggs in that basket that he's back.
That's why I think Braylon's going to come back, because it's going to be Ches last year.
I could see it. 76 plays, 41 passes, 35 runs. Brandon Locke had a 133 rating when targeting Will Pauling.
I like that.
The 95 receiving yards that Will Pauling had was a career high.
I like that.
Braylon Allen had 29 carries for the 145 and a touchdown, plus the 2 for 16. Receiving 31 touches. I am here to admit that I was wrong last week when I said that I didn't think he was capable of handling 25 to 30 touches because he was pretty banged up in the Iowa game. So I'm really actually what I'm going to say now is, after admitting that I was wrong about it, is that I'm very encouraged by what it means for the future if that's behind him. Yeah, because if now he's shown that he can handle 30 touches in a game and play the whole game, that gives me a lot of stability for the running back position. So I do get some encouragement from that. And I said I thought the Badgers were going to throw the ball. They still threw the ball 41 times. And 21 completions. There was 2 drops credited to the Badgers. I would say 3, but a 9.6 average depth of target, which I thought was a little interesting. So they're going to let Braden Locke sling it.
I like it.
So that'll be interesting to see how that translates, going from an Illinois team that lost a bunch of dudes to the NFL to number 3 Ohio State. But we'll talk about that. But Mike, for you, what needs to improve on the offensive side of the ball?
It goes. I talked about this last week a bit. It goes back to discipline, man. Specifically in that first quarter, we had 6 penalties. Granted, it was like Tyler kind of pointed out in our chat, it was better the rest of the game. But this goes to, we've talked about this before too, having those slow starts. This is exactly why we can't put together consistent weeks with having good starts. It has been a problem. There's no that's clear as day. So we have a lot. We just got to clean that up, whether it's the offensive side, defensive side of the ball. I know our offensive line once again was struggling quite a bit in that regard. I don't want to leave Bray. I got to call out Braden Locke a little bit because he did have that fumble. That's part of it. But with those penalties, you can't put in a young court. That's a situation like that. You can't put your first-time starter quarterback in those scenarios. So that's something
I
that
got
needs
more
to
on
be,
that type of subject as well.
And I mean, on top of that too, when it goes to discipline and all that, we had the bad hole on that chip shot field goal that we should have had 3 points on as well in the first half, which was crucial at the time for sure. So just watching it. So it just goes back to discipline and, which led to having a very slow start once again. We're just not playing clean football right now in that regard. So it's something that needs to be repeatedly said in my view.
Jake, what about you? What improved what needs to improve on the offensive side of the ball for you?
Drops, right?
Yep.
That's something that's really been killing us. So as far as the tight ends go, Rucci and Ashcraft, they both had 0 drops last week. But on the season, Ashcraft has 1 drop and Rucci has 3 drops. So I mean, that's not a great start already.
Shout out Riley Nowakowski, by the way. He played a pretty good game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
As far as the wide receivers go, CJ Williams, he had 0. Green had 0. They both have 1 drop each on the season. Bell and Pauling were the 2 people that had drops in this game, although DK should have had a drop.
Yeah, I
Yes.
counted 1 for DK.
This is the
I
one where
would.
Tyler and I agreed.
I agree
but
too.
they didn't credit him with a drop. So he had 0. So we had 2 drops technically. But on the season, Bell has 3 drops, DK has 2, and Pauling has 3. He has a drop in 3 of the last 4 weeks. As good as he's been, that's probably the one thing that I think he would say he needs to clean up. But in total, we have 14 drops. And Mike, you're talking about cleaning up some of the hidden yardage stuff that coaches talk about all the time. And this is something else that can help a young quarterback is not dropping balls, securing the ball. Hi, Winter. she was crying for me upstairs, but hi, Bibi. You're talking about helping a young quarterback out. This can go for the Packers and the Badgers. The wide receivers have to step up. I mean, you've been playing football your entire lives. You're a wide receiver for most of it. If you're a wide receiver, run the route, catch the ball. Simple as that.
For me, and this ties into what Mike was saying about helping out your young quarterback, is the offensive line needs to improve.
Yes.
So help out your young quarterback. Locke got sacked twice and faced 15 pressures. He had 43 dropbacks and faced 15 pressures. That's over a third of the time that he dropped back to pass that he was under pressure.
That nose tackle was a problem.
He was,
and that's true.
Yeah.
Jack Nelson and Tanner Bartolini were good blocking. Jack Nelson did have 2 penalties on him, which, it is what it is. But Malman, 4 pressures and 1 penalty. And Huber, 3 pressures, and Furtney, 2 pressures. So what I will say with Nelson and Bartolini, good blocking, is the Badgers on rushes to the left side of the formation, 12 carries for 93 yards and a touchdown.
Nice.
So we're gonna go that way. We're going that way. So let's go that way. So that's, for me, it's the offensive line that needs to improve. But Mike, on the defensive side of the ball, what did improve?
I mean, yeah, I was trying to look at this, and at the end of the day, because I know you guys are going to touch base on some other stuff, I got pass defense. I mean, we only gave up 100 yards total to Altmaier, who I thought going in when we were talking last week, I thought they were going to actually throw the ball more than what ended up being the case. So we did give up 2 touchdowns. They were pretty close. Like, I believe they were in the red zone. So 100 yards total passing, not too much to say off of that, but not bad for a team that for the most part was known for their passing. So that's all I'll say there. But yeah, 100 yards, not too bad.
Josh asked if Tanner can come back. I think technically, because he's played less than half the season, I think he can actually. But I'm not going to rule him out coming back this year.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we don't. I wouldn't rule him out for this year yet. All Fix said was that he would be out for a while, most likely. So
yeah,
but they don't
have to report injuries as thoroughly as they do in the NFL.
Yes, correct. So I wouldn't rule it out for this year yet. As far as next year goes, I'm honestly not sure in this situation, because this is his 6th year, I believe. Right. So
I don't know. Braden Locke will have a lot to say about that. So
yeah,
we'll see.
True.
If he's balling out and Tanner Mordecai is healthy, they might honestly stick with Braden Locke.
Yeah, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? It's the same for a reason. Yeah,
Jake, on your opinion, what did improve on the defensive side of the ball?
So I was also looking at the pass defense, believe it or not. But like Mike said, we gave up 13 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. I am in the thought process that both those touchdowns came off of the run game because the run game was so good for them. Those guys wouldn't have been open without the run game. They were both play action plays, both the tight ends, both close to the goal line.
Yeah.
So the defense was a little bit better. I mean, they gave up a couple chunk plays, but overall they were better. And like you said, Mike, for a team that was known for passing, I did not know that guy was such a good athlete, by the way. But holy crap, that guy's got some legs on him. Holy shit, dude.
Yes.
For me, it was the team effort. And I'm not saying that the Badgers didn't have a good effort, but like a team effort as a collective is for me what I put in here. I didn't bring this up with CJ Getz as the defensive power pair because I wanted to bring it up here. 7 pressures for CJ Getz. He also had 4 defensive run stops and a sack. I mean, I'm going to say it again. I'm really impressing with how he's continuing to get better every week and adapting to that outside linebacker role. It's fun to watch, and it's cool to see him improving every week. Hunter Wohler, naturally, 13 tackles. Njong Meta had 12 tackles in the absence of Jordan Turner. Also had 2 tackles for loss and a sack, 5 defensive run stops. Ricardo Hallman targeted 4 times, gave up 2 receptions for 13 yards. Had a 57.3 rating when targeted. Just don't throw at Ricardo Hallman. He's locking shit down.
Oh, yikes.
And then Preston Zachman, kind of an unsung hero of the team so far this year. He had 8 tackles.
Yeah, he's been pretty good, actually.
And then Daryl Peterson had a sack and a half. And then the last guy that I want to bring up, and Luke Fickell did talk about this a little bit in some of his post-game interviews, is Christian Allegro. Allegro? I don't know.
Yeah.
Was put in at the end of the game to shadow Altmaier. And on the last possession of the game, he got a pass breakup.
Yep. So
just all around, just the amount of contributions from the entire defense is something that I saw that was improving. But Mike, in your opinion, what does need to still improve?
So I know you guys somewhat touch base on this, but we were talking about the quarterback and everything, and we made that dude look like an all Big Ten running back at times. So for me, it was the tackling. I'm just gonna break it down to 2 plays, and I'll let you guys handle the rest on that. But it was 3rd and 10 in Q3, and Jake there was a play. I think it was a play action, but Altmaier scrambled out and got past Jake Chaney on a very crucial possession, which led to an Illinois touchdown, that 3rd and 10, and got past him there. But no, I mean, this is just one of the examples that Altmaier, he got around our containment numerous times, and, that led to his day running the ball. So that was one scenario I wanted to bring up. And then in quarter 4, we had a 3rd and 7. We literally brought the house on these guys, and Altmaier still got around it. I think it was Kamoy Latu who took, on this play specifically, a bad angle, and he was still able to get around that for a first down, which led to at least a long drive. I will say in this game, we did not do ourselves any favors with having short fields at all game. We did have to bring the ball down, for quite a bit in order to score. So, and I think plays like this are, examples of why that was. So, no, that tackling's definitely got to improve. I know we've talked about it before on this show before, and that goes back to discipline too, once again. So it's just clean football. We just need to play cleaner football. We've said it week after week, and one of these times we have to put a clean game together, but we have to improve this.
We're gonna be right soon.
I hope so.
Yeah, it'll be week 8, and we'll be like, we've only been saying it for 7 weeks. But
right?
Jake, what needs to improve on defense for you?
The rush defense. I mean, point blank period. It's the rush defense, right? Luke Altmaier had 16 carries for 100 yards. He also had 100 yards passing. So, I mean, if that tells you the game that he had 0 touchdowns. So, it's a 6.3 yard average. Caden Fagan, that guy is a monster, and he's going to be a really, really good Big Ten running back. I'm just going to say that right now. 24 rushes, 97 yards, and a touchdown. That's a 4-yard average. That's pretty good for a freshman. They had a couple of guys, Laffrey and Williams, come in. Laffrey had 3 carries for 18 yards, 6 yards a carry, and Williams had 2 for 8. So, I mean, they were kind of But in total, they had 45 carries for 223 yards and a touchdown. That's just that's inexcusable, especially in Big Ten play when you know what you're going to face in the Big Ten, right? It's going to be a lot of running, some play action, some tight end play. I mean, Ohio State and Michigan are different because they get the athletes, right? I mean, Penn State to a certain degree as well. But by the way, Penn State looked horrible against Ohio State. Just gonna say that right now. Ohio State's defense is really, really good. But I watched that entire game and I felt like I wanted to fall asleep every time Penn State had the football because they were horrible on offense. But the rush defense can be fixed by tackling, and that's a crazy concept that Tyler and I have been talking about for literally what feels like years, but it's only
pretty much
been
since we
weeks.
started the show.
Yeah. But this year, especially with the Packers and the Badgers, I mean, if you have the guy, wrap him up and put him on the ground, and then you just go to the next play and you just do that again, and then they won't have 223 yards on you. Kind of how that works.
Yep.
Yeah. So for me, looking at something that kind of ties into what you guys have talked about a little bit already, is for me, the Badgers need to get off to better starts. Now, to be fair, the second and third drives that Illinois had started at the 45 and 46 yard line, but they got a touchdown and a fourth down stop on those two drives. Now, the offense obviously plays a part in this. You need the offense to help the defense out a little bit, but to be down 14-0 with 2 minutes left in the first half, it has you on pace to give up 28 points, which is a lot of points. So for essentially what I'm looking for the Badgers defense is to get the second half defense all game. The second half started with a punt, and I think that kind of kicked the momentum back towards the Badgers a little bit. So just some better starts from the defense is what I'm looking for. All right, so going into Ohio State now, we can just look at it as it is. Mike, what are you looking for from the Badgers offense against Ohio State?
So I was looking at Ohio State's defense, right? And the one thing that actually did stick out, they don't have many interceptions, they don't have many sacks or anything like that. But the one thing that did stick out was they have not given up more than 40 yards on a play all year. So they don't give up any sort of big plays at all. So what that tells me, and they also only give up 100.6 yards per game, which is number 4 in the Big Ten. So I do think you got to find a way to run the ball on these guys. You have to establish a run, I feel like, because they don't give up big plays of any kind at all. They play very clean football. They don't get turnovers necessarily, so to speak, but they're just very sound and don't give up big plays. We need to find a way to run the ball kind of like last week. Braylon might have to carry the ball 30 times again. Realistically, we can't live on Braden Locke throwing the ball 50 times against Ohio State against this team, because if we do that, I don't think it's gonna go too well statistically speaking. But we got to find a way to run the damn ball against these guys as well.
Jake, what are you looking for from the Badgers offense?
Yeah, so the Ohio State defense is insane. They're 5th in total yards, 4th in pass yards. They are 19th in rush yards given up, and they're 3rd in points. They give up 10 points per game. This defense is insane. And, yeah, they don't, like you said, they don't take the ball away. They don't sack you a lot, but what they do well is they're fundamentally sound. They put you in situations that you're very uncomfortable, and then they thrive off of that. They keep you in a lot of 3rd and long, so this is honestly a horrible matchup for this offense right now. Like, if I'm just going to be completely honest with you. The Badgers don't do themselves favors by putting themselves in favorable 3rd downs, but Ohio State is trying to put you in those situations, and they're very good at it. So if the Badgers are going to win this game, they're going to have to be okay with getting ugly, okay?
Yeah.
The big boys up front are going to have to fight like hell, and they're going to have to open some holes. And Braylon Allen, we're just going to have to live with him getting his 3-yard gains, his 6-yard gains, and maybe eking out a first down every once in a while. This game is going to be ugly. The weather is going to be ugly. Spoiler alert. So I mean, it's going to be a classic Big Ten football game. But I tell you what, that weather could be the equalizer. I'm just going to say that. Could be the equalizer, because what is the Ohio State offense? He is number 18. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about him in a little bit too. Spoiler alert. But for me, looking at the Badgers offense, Mike already kind of touched on it. Ohio State only allowing 100 rushing yards per game. I compared the offenses and defenses a little bit to each other as far as points per game and 3rd downs and such go. Wisconsin is 61st in points per game. Ohio State is 22nd in points per game. But looking at yardage, Ohio State is 38th, and Wisconsin is 57th. So the gap closes when you look at yardage versus points. Now, I am a strong proponent that points are obviously more important than yards. But why I bring these things up is that I actually think that field position could be a factor in this game. Is why I bring up the difference in yards.
Okay.
So the other thing that I'm going to tie into this is third down conversion percentage, and we can use this to transition into the Badgers defense, is Wisconsin's offense is 30th in college football on third down percentages with 43.4. Ohio State is actually 40th at 42.5%. So I'm actually looking at field position and third downs are going to be big factors. But for the defense, Wisconsin's only allowing 18.3 points per game, which is pretty solid. Wisconsin allows 136 rushing yards a game. Ohio State averages 128. But Ohio State's strength is their passing game. So looking at it, I think the Badgers will be fine controlling the run, but they need to control the pass. And I'm going to say something about that again when we get into matchups. But Mike, what are you looking for from the Badgers defense?
Kind of like what you said, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, certain matchups, right? I mean, I'm not going to say names quite yet, but Ohio State's got 3 guys that are in the top 6 for receiving yards in the Big Ten. So you kind of have an idea where I'm going to go with this. One of which might not be playing is Egbuka. All right, I'll bring up one name. Egbuka. Yeah. He didn't play last week against Penn State, so I don't know his health status yet going into this weekend. I don't think they released that report, but if he's out, I mean, I don't like injuries upon anyone, but that is going to help if he's out. Other factors too. You got Travion Henderson, who's their leading rusher, I guess, but he was out last week as well, but his health is in the air, is questionable. So it's those kinds of matchups that we can go talk further into. But yeah, you know where I'm going with this, so I'll let you guys.
Jake, what else are you looking for the Badgers defense?
So I'm glad you brought Travion Henderson's name up, because with him out of the lineup, he's really the one guy that's kind of like he flies off of the screen when you're watching them run the ball, right? So to me, their rush average is a little skewed because he's been kind of in and out of the lineup. But yeah, I mean, the offense is Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, I'm just gonna tell you something that I told Tyler earlier today. The Packers, they're gonna grow, they're gonna do their thing. Jordan Love, he's making the right decisions. He's flying around doing his thing, right? If we go through our struggles and a lot of these young guys get snaps and playing time and they get comfortable with each other, and my reward for going through this season is Marvin Harrison Jr. Oh, I am one happy son of a bitch. I'll tell you that right now. I will tell you that right now. Marvin Harrison Jr. would make me the happiest Packers fan on the planet, dude. Yeah, give me 6'4", and he can wear as many goddamn watches as he wants. I don't give a shit.
Before we get into our matchups, one other thing that I want to throw out there, this goes kind of just as the game as a whole. Wisconsin averages 5.9 penalties per game. Ohio State averages 6.7. So this is where we keep talking about, this game, if we're going to talk about how the Badgers can win it from an optimistic point of view, field position, penalties, and just playing clean games, that is something that it's going to be imperative before you even get to the matchups on the field specifically. It's going to be controlling what you can control and those things that show up outside the box score. So that said, Mike, actually, no, we're going to go to Jake first. Jake, you talked about the weather. What's the weather going to be like?
Gonna be some shitty weather. Maseratis don't ride real good in the rain, right? Because on Saturday,
driven a lot of Maseratis, Jake?
No, I have not. But I just 33 degrees, occasional rain and drizzle is what it tells me. 84% chance of rain and 3 hours total of rain. And this is just Saturday night. So it's going to be a gross Wisconsin Halloween weekend. And I'll tell you what, there'd be nothing scarier for this Ohio State team than to lose to a 2-loss Wisconsin team starting a freshman quarterback.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right.
I hear you.
Mikey, give us your matchup for Saturday.
I'll let you guys handle the big one. I'm looking at, you take the number one guy out of the picture. I'll let you guys determine how you want to go with that. I'm looking at Cade Stover. He's a tight end. I'm looking to see how we match up against him. Because let's say hypothetically you got Hallman on Harrison, and then you put a second. You might have to bring a second guy. Yes, okay. What do you do on the tight end spot? You can't? I don't know if you want to put Waller out there. I don't think you can. But it's going to be interesting how exactly that looks. Do you maybe put Matriano? I don't know. That's something that I'm looking for.
Jake Chaney, I think.
Yeah, it's just like, can any of our inside backers potentially stick with him while he's running? Because that has been what I've said this so many times too. Wisconsin's defenses in the past, we struggle against teams that spread us out. That's just, let's call it how it is. We always have against Ohio State when they spread out. So it's going to be an interesting matchup with Cade Stover and how we handle and how we handle him. Go ahead.
I wonder if they could bracket him with Chaney and Waller.
Yeah.
Or even Chaney and Zachman even.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I honestly, because being Waller's position, it's going to really be interesting how they use him in this game with how many receiving weapons that they have.
True.
You don't necessarily maybe want to spy the quarterback or anything like that with those capabilities. So it's going to be interesting how they use Waller for sure.
Yeah,
I guess, use Chaney, or if Jordan Turner is back and healthy, that's questionable as well. Yep. We need him this weekend. We really, really do. I don't think Injop Muma is the best in coverage, so it's going to be interesting how they handle the tight end in this game.
Jake, what's the matchup you're watching?
I knew you guys were going to go wide receiver. I did not expect you to go tight end, though. That's a very good pick. But
I had to think outside the box.
I know that his health is kind of in the air, and he did not play last week. So thank you for bringing that up, Mike. But Travion Henderson is a tremendous player. So I think that he puts a new aspect on this game, a new stress on this defense that we are not going to be able to handle, quite frankly. Travion Henderson versus Chaney, Turner, and Injog Meta, because I don't know what Turner's injury future is either. That is my matchup. It's going to be important to kind of hold him down so they don't dominate the time of possession. I cheated a little bit, and I looked at the weather early, so I knew that running the ball was going to be kind of favorable. But he does have 44 carries, 295 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He averages 6.7 yards a carry. I mean, he is just an absolute stud. So you let him get going, and then you have Maserati Marvin. I mean, Christ almighty. What are you going to do with that?
That's the one that I went with. I went with
Jake,
the obvious
you need to trademark that right now. Like, please. You can make a bunch of money.
Dude, that's a great name, dude.
Maserati Marvin. Do it. I'm telling you. Do it.
I went with
a Packer.
I went with Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Ricardo Hallman. Marvin Harrison Jr. is pretty much locked in already as a top 5 pick. And my thing is, can Ricardo best him? Can Ricardo contain him? You're not going to stop him. You're not going to limit him to 2 catches for 13 yards like Ricardo Hallman did last week against Illinois. But let's just look at it strictly from our perspective of Ricardo Hallman has an opportunity to really put himself on the map this game. If he can, say, frustrate or limit or just contain Marvin Harrison Jr., this is a super huge opportunity for Ricardo Hallman. So when we're talking about this, it's not really a shock to say that there's a talent gap still between Ohio State and Wisconsin. It's, this is an opportunity for us to be optimistic and realistic at the same time. But thinking about it, like the way that Ricardo Hallman is probably looking at it, it's an opportunity for him. And that's the way that I'm going to choose to look at it, is if Ricardo Hallman can play a good game against Marvin Harrison Jr., that could rocket him onto the radar of the NFL potentially. He's already playing really well this season. So if he can put, a really good game on tape against a guy who, like I said, is going to be probably a top 5 pick, that could be huge for Ricardo Hallman.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
So that's the way that I'm looking at it. All right, Mike. Key to the game. What's your key to the game for the Badgers?
Don't beat yourselves one bit. We need to find a way to get a turnover or two. We had 0 last week against Illinois. We have to get turnovers somehow, some way. Get me 1 to 2 of them, and don't beat ourselves. That goes back to my first point in this show. Discipline. No stupid full start penalties, legal formations, bad snaps. We cannot have that at all. We cannot give Ohio State any sort of freebies like this. If there's a year to beat Ohio State, this is it in my view. Just because they don't have a CJ Stroud at quarterback, the running game is suspect in my view. I don't think the offensive line is not what it used to be either, at least from years past. So if we just don't beat ourselves, if we can somewhat limit Harrison's catches, yes, he's gonna get his.
Yep.
There's no, call it how it is. He's gonna
be a top 5 pick for a reason.
If we can limit him just a little even, like just don't beat ourselves, right? I think we could be right there, especially what Jake was just talking about the weather report. With how much this team throws, that could be a major, major, factor as long as we don't beat ourselves. So
sure. Jake, what's your key to the game?
So it's going to be wet, but it's going to be Halloween weekend, and there's going to be a bunch of drunk college kids in there. No, they can't drink at the stadium, but they will drink plenty going in.
They find a way to drink there. Trust me.
So thankfully, this game is at 6:30 p.m., so they'll all be nice and rowdy. It's on NBC. Ohio State's favored by 14.5, by the way, which is completely disrespectful to the Badgers. They in the last 10 meetings versus Ohio State, they have lost once in Wisconsin by 14 points. So keep that in mind when you're betting this weekend. For me, the crowd is going to bring the energy, man, and the team's just got to feed off of it. Just keep it loud, keep those big plays going. I mean, just keep picking up first downs so people would say 1st and 10 Wisconsin, right? So let's keep that going. Let's tackle them behind the line of scrimmage. And man, if they give us 2 turnovers, Ohio State's in trouble, boy.
Yeah. Jake, I'm sorry. I was going to call it the crowd for 1 second. This is also the most, I would say, hostile environment that Ohio State's playing in, by the way, even with that Notre Dame game, because half of that stadium was full of Ohio State fans.
Yeah,
this is also going to be the most hostile environment for Ohio State to play in this year.
Touché.
So just throwing that out there. Sorry.
They got lucky to beat an overrated Notre Dame team, by the way. Notre Dame is all right, but they're always overrated, right? And Ohio State got lucky. Ohio State's a little overrated. Their defense is number 3. Their offense is not.
Yes.
Yeah. I said that since the beginning of the year when they played Indiana and they scored, 23 points, 24 points?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I went with a really basic answer, the obvious one, the low-hanging fruit, if you will. It's play the most complete game of the season in all 3 phases.
Yeah.
So I brought up the yardage, I brought up the penalties, and I brought up the differences in the points and then the yards and the third downs. It's the field position, the penalties, and really just the third downs, which is something I'm really always big on. It just needs to be all 3 phases. It needs to be the most complete game, and that ties back to what I said needs to improve on the defense. It needs to be a complete game. So that's my key to the game, is a complete game in all 3 phases. Mike, you're first. Put you under the gun. What's your score prediction from the head?
Jake, you're going to hate me for this. Unfortunately, I got Badgers losing 13-27 from the head. Yeah.
Well, I'll go next, and I don't hate you because I also have the Badgers losing from the head as well, 27-20.
It was more so at the spread when I said 14, lose by 14.
Yeah,
so,
that's fair.
Yeah,
I mean, it's 14.5, so you'd still win if you pick Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I have
you would lose here, but you'd win here.
Yeah. I have them just under that spread. I have Ohio State 33, Wisconsin 20.
Okay.
Okay. Mikey, what you got, buddy?
So from the heart, I got us unfortunately losing in overtime 17-23. It's kind of similar to how it went last time Ohio State came into Camp Randall. We lost in overtime to them as well. it's kind of like what you said though, with the weather and everything, we could be right there, and up until the very end. So I just think, from the heart, I just
Bro.
couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I hope to God I'm proven wrong, but I think from the heart, let's go OT 17-23.
I'm gonna tell you one thing right now. You used the Jake, you're gonna hate me for this way too soon, because now I don't like it. If we lose to Ohio State in overtime, I'm gonna be fucking pissed, dude. I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
From the heart, and this is more optimistic, so that's crazy. But I mean, I respect it. It's Ohio State. They have a really good defense. I have us winning. If everything goes right, if we play a clean game, we're running the damn ball. Braden Locke is Braden Locke doing what he did last week. I have the Badgers winning 23-13. I really don't respect this offense.
Ooh,
Damn. Okay. All right.
So for me too, and this is why we do these two separately, is upsets happen in college football. They happen in college basketball. They happen in baseball. The Arizona Diamondbacks are in the World Series. So for me, doing the heart prediction, I don't think I'll ever pick my team to lose, strictly because I'm going to look for those ways to win. So it's going to be a stressful one if the Badgers win. I don't see a 10-point win for the Badgers. I see a much closer game, like 90% closer, like a 1-point win.
Oh, buddy.
So I have 28-27.
Oh my God.
Ooh. Okay.
I don't want either of yours. I want to relax. I would
love a 23-13 win.
Yeah, if that happened, I
want to relax, boys.
With this team, I'm sorry.
I mean, it could be lopsided one way, and you could relax that way, and you can just be like, well, it's Ohio State. But in the future, that excuse is going to be gone in the future. Right now, we still can hold on to it, that it's, it's Wisconsin, and then be, well, it's Ohio State. But that excuse is going to be gone soon. The Badgers, that's why they brought in Luke Fickell, to get rid of that gap that stands between Wisconsin and some of the top teams in the Big Ten. But if you stuck with us through this marathon episode, and Stephen Watson joining the show, which we again appreciate so much, you get to hear the 8th letter for our giveaway on Saturday, which is the letter C. And Saturday, 10 o'clock, we will be at the Wisco Collect event that is at Memory Lanes in Clintonville. It starts at 10 o'clock, goes to 4 o'clock. Jake and I are doing a bonus episode in the middle of that show, Wisconsin Sports What If Questions. Sounds like there's going to be tons of vendors there. We're going to give away our 5,000 follower giveaway. Can't wait to be there. Mike, there you go. Mike's got it up on the board.
That was quick thinking.
Phrase is C. And then other than that, Jake and I will be back on Friday night. Mike, we will see you next Wednesday for our Wisconsin Badgers basketball primer. So we got back-to-back basketball primers on Wednesdays. So just tons of content coming from Wisco Fanatics. So thank you for stuck with us for this whole 2-hour episode. And we will be back on Friday and Saturday.
All right. Take care.